Hey, it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for another video edition of Widower Wednesday. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Dating a Widower, and today we're going to discuss redecorating the widower's home. This came up, I believe there was a post in the Dating a Widower Facebook group about how to approach the widower and the best way to redecorate it. Thought it'd make a good video, so that's why we're discussing it today. So before we get into redecorating a widower's house, I do want you to know, and I say this over and over again, I have other videos on it, but I always tell women, do not move into the widower's home he shared with the late wife unless you're 100% comfortable living there. I've never, ever, in all the years I've been coaching and talking to women about this, I've never seen anyone move into the widower's house where they're uncomfortable with the setup or the decor, whatever it is. They always think, well, I'll be okay with it, and they never are. I've never, ever seen anybody, just be okay with it. It will eventually drive you crazy, whether it's a week from the time you moved in, a month from there, or a year from there. It never works. Do not move into a widower's house unless you're 100% comfortable living there. Just want to reiterate it in case anyone is watching and thinking about this. And honestly, if you want my personal opinion, the best way to do this is to buy a new house together. I understand that's not feasible or possible in all cases. So if you do have to move into the house that he and the late wife shared, that's fine. Just be sure you're 100% comfortable living there before you do it. So that comes into redecorating the house. So let's say, before you move in, or say, as a condition of moving in, the widower says, okay, you can redecorate the house. Again, I would redecorate before you move in, but let's just say you move in and the widower gives you the green light to redecorate. So what's the best way of going out, putting your touches on the home, making you feel comfortable there without having the widower get upset or regret it, or, say this isn't what I signed up for, or anything else? So the first thing I'm going to do is to involve him, and maybe not in the actual work unless he wants to help, but I would explain to him what it is you're trying to do. So for example, say you want to paint the walls a different color and buy a new bed frame for one of the bedrooms. Let him know what you're doing. Maybe even show him like a color or something. See if he has any objections to it. And keep in mind, you're not asking him for permission to do this, but you're trying to get a sense if he has any concerns about what you're going to do. You have to remember that homes are emotional objects, and while probably most widowers don't care how the home is decorated on the inside, there's still an emotional attachment to certain things. So maybe, whatever, the color of the room or the bed or the carpet, I don't know. You could have some kind of emotional attachment because of memories to it. It's not that he really cares what color that the walls are, what the beds, or what the sheeting looks like on the bed or anything. Is just kind of an emotional attachment due to memory. So your first step is just to try to involve them in more of an informational thing, saying, hey, whatever, I'm going to paint the room this, I'm going to do this to the room. Do you have any, concerns about this? If he doesn't object, then you really can't complain later, although many widowers do. We'll talk about that in a sec. But the first point is you're trying to involve him in the process, make sure that he understands what it is that you're going to do to the room or to the home in general. The second thing I would do is start small. So start with like an extra bedroom or something that you don't have to put a lot of effort into. So maybe you go, we'll use that spare bedroom example. So say you paint the walls a different color. I don't know, you change out the bed frame, you put on a different a comforter or something on the bed. I would start small instead of like redoing the whole house and having him have objections to it, or seeing how he'll react. You start small, you update the room to the way you want, and then you show it to the widower. Say, hey, I redid the room. What do you think? And probably most of the time, most widowers are going to say, yeah, it looks great, cool. I'm glad you did that. But I hate to say it, but there are some widowers out there that probably didn't put up any objections, but as soon as they see the room, they're going to complain or say, why did you move that? Why didn't you tell them? I don't know, whatever. They'll just come up with excuses. And again, it's that emotional attachment to the room, the memories, the houses. Suddenly you've done something that has kind of upset that emotional thing that they have. So just keep in mind, again, that houses are emotional, memories are emotional, and that's why I say it's better to see how he's going to react to small changes before you try to go out and, like, say, redecorate the entire house or the living room or whatever it is that you need to do. Start with a small room and go from there. see how he reacts. And again, if he's going to have a negative reaction to it, especially if he didn't put up objections earlier, I think that says a lot about how he's going to react if you try to redecorate the rest of the house. So you can kind of see why I tell people not to move in unless you're 100% comfortable there. Because just think if you had moved into a house and the widower said you could redecorate, and suddenly he's throwing up objections to your redecorating ideas. The third thing I would point out is that if there are minor children living at home, probably, whatever, let them have their bedrooms, whatever the way they want. Really what you're trying to do is redecorate, his bedroom, the common areas maybe that you're associated in, and maybe, some spare rooms. If he has minor children living at home, they can take care of their own rooms, and then when they move out, you can do whatever you want with the room. So what to do though if he does object and he maybe say he doesn't like the changes? So again, you've updated that spare room. He throws a fit about something for whatever reason. Keep the conversation focused on you and the relationship and the fact that you need to feel comfortable in the home if you're going to move in there. And again, this is one of the reasons I say don't move in unless you're 100% comfortable there, because if you're already living there, you don't have any leverage over whether or not, you don't have any leverage if he objects to the changes that you're making. If you're already living there and he's objecting, then it becomes kind of a stalemate. Whereas, if you haven't moved in yet and he's objecting, then it's like, well, fine, I can put the room back the way it was and I'm not moving in, kind of thing. So you can kind of leverage it that way. And I would also add that if he doesn't think it's important that you feel comfortable in his house, well, you're probably not number one in his heart. So if he's going to object to you redecorating the house, probably not putting your needs above, whatever his needs are. So some of you are probably thinking, how did Juliana and I handle this issue? So I've got to be honest, Juliana and I didn't have this problem in the sense that she moved into a house that the late wife and I shared. If you've read Room for Two, and if you haven't, I highly suggest that you do. But if you've read Room for Two, you know that I had an offer on a house when Krista died. It was one she wanted to buy and fix up. I actually ended up buying the house. I could have got out of it with her death, but I ended up buying it and fixed it up. And then I sold the house a week or two before Julie and Anna and I got married, and we started fresh in a small one-bedroom apartment in a city about 30 miles away from where we met and got married. So we started fresh, and I still will say I honestly think that is the best way to go. Again, I know it's not possible in all circumstances, but honestly, if you guys can start in a new house, a new apartment, a new something, it'll make it way easier for everyone. So anyway, there you go. That's how you help a widower redecorate his house. Just as a reminder, try to involve him early in your plan. So if he has any objections to whatever, he can get those out of the way. Start small. Start with something, a hallway, something small that's not going to, that if there are objections that he didn't voice earlier, again, you haven't wasted, tons of time or money redecorating something that you might have to change. And again, if there are any objections to it, keep any arguments or objections or, focus any conversations on you, the relationship, and you guys living together, instead of the late wife's taste or anything like that, because that'll just blow up the conversation. It's not good. Anyway, that is how you redecorate a widower's house. Don't forget to comment below, subscribe, book a coaching session, like, share. You know the drill. And I will see you back here on Wednesday.